Have you heard the term repurposing? Well, until just a couple of years ago, I had never heard this term, and when I did and learned what it could do for my business and how it made things so much more simple for me, I thought that I wanted to scream it from the rooftops, thinking everyone should know what this is. What I'm finding, however, is that while some people use this term of repurposing, there's not necessarily a whole lot of discussion or information or resources on how to do just that. Welcome to episode number 209 of the In a Weekend podcast. I'm your host, Yang Pratt, and today we're going to dive into the idea of repurposing. If this is your first time tuning into the podcast, you're in the right place if you're looking to simplify, to automate, or to leverage the assets inside of your business. And I'm here to tell you that there are probably some very hidden assets inside of your business that you may be overlooking now. And on this podcast, we're going to dive into and unpack some of these things. So what is repurposing? At its very core, repurposing is the idea of taking a single piece of content, like a video or a blog, and turning it into something else. The first question you probably have is, why would I turn my video or my blog into something else? And here's why. Each of us learns differently and has strengths in how we learn. Some people really learn best visually, so watching a video makes sense and they can totally connect with you. Some people connect with learning when they read it, so in that case, a blog makes sense for you. So this idea of repurposing is really elevating, recycling, or upcycling it to a new level. We're taking something that you've already created or you're going to create and then turning it into another form so that people, no matter how they learn, can still come to you and enjoy your content. For example, I often go live on my Facebook page to record my podcast episodes. I then will turn that podcast episode into an audio, which becomes my podcast. I will often then take this podcast and turn it into yet another form and transform it into a blog post, or I'm able to grab quotes from my guests and share those on social media. There's so many ways to literally slice and dice a single piece of content. One of the biggest frustrations I often hear about is I really want to be on all these different platforms, but I just don't have the time. I don't know how to get my stuff on this platform and then on this platform and on this platform because it takes so much time. And believe me, I totally get it. I was that person who for years would literally do things manually because I didn't know what I didn't know, right? Kind of like all of us. When I discovered repurposing and then found some tools and resources to start automating the repurposing, my eyes were opened wide, and now I am a total automation junkie. And in fact, some of my students have dubbed me the queen of repurposing and the automation ninja, because this idea of repurposing our content and then putting some automations in place that make it effortless and easy for us to do all the things we want to do and be in all the places we want to do totally lights me up. Now, in the coming weeks, we're going to dive into some really specific tactics you can literally start using the day you listen to the podcast and really start to multiply your message. That's what I like to refer to when I talk about repurposing. Because repurposing, if you were to go onto Google and put that term into a search engine on Google or Safari or wherever you search, most of what you're going to be shown has to do with repurposing things like furniture or clothes. And there's not a whole lot out there yet, I'm planning on changing that, just so you know. There's not a whole lot out there yet on this idea of repurposing inside of our businesses and really repurposing things in our lives. I am someone who for years made things so difficult, and I loved technology and automation, and I still do, but I really wanted to put in all the bells and whistles, and in doing so, I often made things really super complicated, and when things broke, it made it nearly impossible to fix them, and I'd have to go back in and redo them, or just sometimes even give up on redoing it because it took so long. But because I'm a seeker of knowledge, I'm always looking for a better way to do stuff, an easier way to do something. I'm literally like Nancy Drew for business owners. I'm a detective where I can, with my magnifying glass, really discern some of the things that you as a business owner or as a parent could literally simplify quickly. And that's a huge factor for me. This idea of quick and easy. I've learned that for myself as a business owner and as a mom, that if I can get something done quickly, I am much more prone to finishing that thing, whatever it is. If it takes me weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks or months or years to do something, it's really tough to have enough motivation and want to get that thing done, whatever it is. For example, when I learned to podcast way back in 2013, everything was very manual. There weren't a whole lot of automations. Facebook Live wasn't around, and the tools I use now weren't around then. So everything literally was manual. And it just took a long time. So when I finally found some things to help me in my quest to make things easier for myself, I was then able to share with other business owners, other parents, how to do the same thing. For example, when I teach people to podcast, we do it in a weekend format because, again, having speed of implementation and taking fast action definitely trumps doing it slow or possibly not even doing it at all. Can you relate to that? Is there something in your life right now or your business that you have thought to yourself, man, I just wish I could do this faster. I wish that there was a simpler way to do this over here. I wish that I could just be like the big gurus and be on all the platforms, but I don't have a team. If you have ever had those thoughts or similar ones, I totally can relate. I was that person. I was struggling. I was frustrated because I saw people that I admired doing all these things, and there was just so much to do. I was barely able to keep up. So this idea of repurposing your content, or what I like to call multiplying your message, is now something that I teach to all of my students inside of our In a Weekend classes. And for all of you, my dear listeners, I've put together something special for you. If you head over to youngpratt.com/209, you can get access for free to my Multiply Your Message framework. It's a 5-step framework that shows you how you can take one thing like a video and turn it into so many other pieces, at least 5, if not multiples of 5, as far as what you can create on the other side. Because working smarter and not harder is something I have been trying to really embrace, especially in this new year. Seeking out simplicity for myself, showing my students how to simplify some things that are often taught in a very complicated way. That's something I love to do. In the coming weeks, we're going to take a deep dive into all the different ways you can repurpose your content or multiply your message. Again, you can grab our free 5-part framework at youngpratt.com/209. On the next episode, we're going to dive into using video to multiply your message. Cheers.